Trojan family, what's going on? Welcome back. USC LA Football Show here. I am Ryan Dyrud. Thanks as always. Hope everyone is doing well. For all of my sweater enthusiasts, nay, my sweater savants, we are finally back. It's finally cold enough to wear a sweater. We had a little heat wave here in LA, 80s in January, so I had to relinquish my sweater wearing prowess. But we are back, family. We are back, back in the row of the sweaters. So for all my sweater savants out there, nice to have some cooler temperatures here in LA. I know across the country it's going to be real cold. So we get our cold wave is 50s on the weekend. And, you know, I have friends in Minnesota, friends in New York, friends in Chicago. They're all going to be in the negatives. So, yeah, we just get a nice, crisp, cool sweater weather. Jumping on here, though, just some more like admin work, I guess you could say. Some, crossing some T's, dotting some I's with the new coaching hires. Quick little update on Gary Patterson as his eventual announcement of the official DC title. So we'll do a quick little update on that. Plus a little update on Mike Ekeler, who we announced over a week ago that he would be the hire, but was officially announced, I believe, yesterday. And then now a little title added to his position with USC, which is interesting, which I talked about back on January 15th. But now we saw it come to fruition, so we'll see what kind of effect that will have with the rest of the staff. So super quick on Gary Patterson. National media, I'm sure they have certain speculations when they can announce things. I'm not saying they don't have good sources or not, so that's not what I'm trying to do. But if you watch this show or if you follow any of the great USC other reporters and writers and YouTubers, we've been talking about Gary Patterson for a week. Probably more than a week. I think I first brought up Gary Patterson's name 2 weeks ago. Well, today, now you have the national guys, Matt Zenitz, CBS, Pete Thamel, all coming out saying that USC is targeting Gary Patterson. As it says here, I'll put up on the screen. According to Pete Thamel, sources, USC is targeting former TCU coach Gary Patterson as the school's next defensive coordinator. A deal is expected to come together in the near future. So nothing new here at all, but just more affirmation of what we have been saying for over a week, that Gary Patterson likely, not just likely now, will be the defensive coordinator. We're just waiting on the official announcement. So we've seen the dominoes falling anyway. I felt back on the 15th, this was pretty much the direction they would go. And now you get some more confirmation nationally that it will. Once they use language like targeting, likely, like that means it's basically done. They're waiting for the official team announcement kind of thing. So it's kind of a way to protect themselves if something falls through the last minute. They're like, well, I just said targeting. I just said likely. I didn't say done deal. So there you have it. Gary Patterson probably going to be the DC. Let me know your comments. We'll see the fallout from that after it officially happens. Obviously, we've already seen one of the fallouts with Doug Belk not being retained. I will quickly, I don't say I broke it. USCJ, my guy was on it first last night. I had been told by someone before that it could be happening. I just wanted to wait a little bit. And then once I saw Jay go, I kind of followed up, got some confirmation. So then I went on it. And then everyone else kind of down the line, not saying they didn't have their own sources also. But we talked about Doug Belk last night. But just to kind of put a bow on that, real unfortunate. Love Doug Belk. I think he's a great human being, a great mentor. Just a great person all around. I think he was great, a great USC Trojan, represented USC in such a meaningful way. We all know what a powerful and good recruiter he was. And I think he was a really good coach. Some will talk about the development of maybe lacking, but like when you look at the safety position, did some really good things overall when he kind of transitioned from DB to safety, but even the DB group before, remember, last year with Jalen Smith and Jacoby Covington and some of these other players pre-Trevon Reed getting here, when Doug Belk was really overseeing the entire defensive backfield with obviously Dan Lynn assisting as well. Like, saw some good things for some of those players and whatnot. So really good coach. Hate to see him go. There's been some talk of, he was kind of dragging his feet a bit on re-signing. As we talked about almost a month ago now, he was not technically under contract for 26 anyway, so that he was going to need to be either promoted or re-signed at his current position. So this wasn't like a firing or anything like that, but on the re-signing, obviously USC went in the direction of not promoting him to DC. So there was some talk that maybe he was prolonging re-signing, whether that was coming from wanting a higher pay raise, kind of saying like, hey, If you don't want me to be DC, I do want to be here, but I think I deserve a pay bump. That I don't know. Could have been with that. Could have been him maybe fielding some other stuff out there if there was some other opportunity before officially re-signing. But ultimately, kind of both sides decide to, USC probably closed the door on it saying, okay, we're moving in a different direction. But that is the end of that. So unfortunate. But, he'll, I think, go on and do good things. He'll have no problem getting if he wants to be still a DB coach, he'll get a power forward job very quickly. If he wants to try to be a DC, maybe at the P5 level, start as a DC there, move up, I'm sure he will be fantastic. So as of now, it looks like Gary Patterson would handle kind of the safety coaching. He has a great track record coaching defensive backs from his 22 years at TCU. So I don't think there's any fear of that. They might bring someone else in. Scott Schrader has reported, our good friend over at WeRSC, that at this moment he's being told that Gary Patterson is not trying to bring in any of his own people. That doesn't mean they won't still hire a specific safeties coach, but it's not coming specifically from Gary Patterson. So, I know there's been talks of maybe potential other safety coaches coming in. Who knows if that is, I'll dig more into that and see if there's any potential of that. But as of right now, it would feel that Gary Patterson would kind of oversee that, with Trevon Reed's role potentially expanding even a little bit more within the entire defensive back room, which he's already done with recruiting. I think Doug Belk was more specifically safeties, Trevon Reed corners, but I think Trevon Reed still, as a whole defensive back, has been involved in the recruiting process as it stands now anyway. So seems like he is the future anyway, and seemingly someone they want to keep moving up the ladder, giving more experience and giving more accolades. As far as the rest of the staff, we will see. Kind of a holding pattern right now. So this brings me quickly to Mike Ekeler. Hey, what's going on, LAFB family? Before we get to the show, got to tell you about my friends over at Sleeper. The number one sports app right now, and not just for season-long fantasy. They have daily game updates. They have a live chat that you can chat with other users. Plus, my favorite part is the daily fantasy feature, which is similar to a pick'em. You just choose 2 or more players across any sport. Choose more or less in whatever sport that may be. So if it's football, more or less touchdowns. For Jaden Mayava, if it's Mekhi Lemon, more or less receptions. If you're looking at the Dodgers, more or less home runs for Shohei Ohtani. Really easy, and you can win real money. Right now, when you go and make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code. You see it right there on the screen, USC LAFB. That's going to give you a matched deposit bonus up to $100. You put in $100 to play with, you're going to get $100 free on top of that. You can put in 10, you get 10 free. Also, right now, our friends are offering a $20 free entry for any new signups. So if you go sign up today, you'll get both those offers. You get $20 right off the bat free to play with. Plus, use that promo code USCLAFB at sign up and you'll get that match bonus as well. Go to the App Store, Google Play, download the Sleeper app today, and tell them that the USC LAFB sent you. Now, let's get on to the show. And phenomenal hire for USC. We know that, right? Special teams coordinator. I talked about him a ton last week. So if you need any more just details on what he's done at Tennessee, what he's done at Nebraska, I dropped that there. I'll put the link below if you want to hear that. But it is for sure a phenomenal hire when it comes to special teams. I also talked last week about, I wonder if they'll give him some sort of linebacker coach title. And as I'm recording this now, you get on 3. Let me just say this now, just since we're in the middle of recording this show here. So Pete Nako says, I'll go ahead and throw this up on the screen. USC is expected to hire former TCU head coach Gary Patterson as next defensive coordinator. And Pete continues, USC and Patterson are working toward finalizing a deal to making the Trojans next DC. So done deal. Now you have it from all the national guys, done deal. But you've heard it here first for over a week, so no surprises there. But with Mike Ekeler, I said back on January 15th, I believe, why would he just, outside of a pay raise, go from Nebraska to USC with just the special teams tag? He has linebacker experience. Obviously, he was a linebacker coach at SC back in 2013. When he was with Tennessee, the 4 years prior, he was a special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach. So would that kind of carry over with him? Well, he gets 2 coaching tags. He got the report from Matt Zenitz on CBS was just flat out linebackers coach and assistant head coach. Not assistant head coach of the defense, not any of these other things, blah, blah, blah. He says assistant head coach and linebackers coach. So it's going to be really interesting to see what that potentially means for the rest of the staff, specifically on defense. Now, Rob Ryan obviously is the current linebacker coach. So he was obviously the linebacker coach brought in last year. He also has the title assistant head coach of the defense, which was kind of the little cherry on top they threw to get him to come to the collegiate level and coach here. So I'm really curious what this could mean now for Rob Ryan, because there's two ways to look at this. Is Mike Ekeler kind of joining Rob Ryan, and they're going to have really three, because remember Rob Ryan's son is an assistant as well, linebacker coaches? Or, there's three ways to look at it. Or is Mike Ekeler basically just the new linebackers coach, and Rob Ryan's not going to be at USC anymore, or in some maybe analyst capacity, which could be. Maybe he's fine with that. I know he's looking at retiring anyway. Maybe he said, yeah, you take over linebacker coach, I'll be, an analyst, help where I can, still be a voice. Maybe that's the case, which I think that would be a home run, slam dunk. Either one. Like, I know there's been some not high fanhood of what the linebacker room was like, and a lot of that has fallen on Rob Ryan, but I think he is still a very competent voice and a very competent coach that maybe just didn't elevate to that level that we needed last year. So him staying on in any capacity, I think, is still absolutely worthwhile. The last thought is, if he was the outside linebacker coach at Tennessee, and so at USC he becomes outside linebacker coach, which would keep Rob Ryan in his role as it is, well, now what does that mean for Sean Nua, which is the edge coach for USC? Today, I don't know what time, maybe it's already happened, Coach Nua was meeting with Coach Lincoln Riley and Chad Bowden regarding his future and role with USC. Because if that title or whatever for Ekeler is outside linebackers coach, well, you don't need an edge coach. Those are the same thing essentially. It just depends on your personnel groupings and scheme. So if you're running, a base heavy front, Crawford and Shelby and Fisher and all these guys are basically considered edges. If you're running like a 3-4, which I'm not saying they are, but in that base, then those guys are kind of considered outside linebackers. It's kind of more of a semantic than anything. But you rarely would see, outside of maybe the NFL, when you have a lot more coaches, you would rarely see an edge coach and an outside linebacker coach. Could be. I'm not saying it's never been the case, but I wouldn't expect that to be the case. So these titles for Ekeler definitely are telling us something. Either Nua's going to be gone, either Rob Ryan's going to be gone, or Rob Ryan is taking just a step back and being more of a analyst type role. I think those are the three scenarios. I don't see a world where it's just like Ekeler and Ryan are co-linebacker coaches. Nua stays the same. Like that seems too repetitive, too many voices. So something will come down from Ekeler's new title as linebacker coach and special teams coordinator. So really interesting to see what that, I'm sure we'll hear very quickly. I'm sure as soon as I finish recording, something will come out on that. So we will see about that. But that's kind of your latest update. With Sean Nua, really close connection with Coach Dog. Coach Dog would be an absolute monumental loss when it comes to recruiting. So if the staff decides to move on from Coach Nua, there could be huge ramifications with Coach Dog. You would hope not. I'm not saying they're a package deal necessarily, but I think Chad Bowden knows how important. I think Coach Riley, I think everyone knows how important Coach Dog is. So you would hope no matter what, he would be retained, but just something to look for, which would be probably the worst possible news in that regard. So I'll be here all night. Plan is for this evening, 7 p.m., myself and Tim Pranglin to be on live. We have a lot to talk about. I'm sure you all are itching to get on the phone lines. We'll be taking your calls, taking your comments. So it'll be a lot of the same kind of stuff, but at least we can just talk through it and enjoy each other's company. So for now, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll respond to as many as I can. Hopefully see you all tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's keep this thing rolling. For all my sweater savants, talk to you soon. Appreciate your family, and as always, fight on.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.